segment. We got Mo and Nafi here, and this week's guest is an old buddy of mine from high school. His name is Evan. We played a lot of basketball a long time ago.
Good times.
A lot of tournaments that we played in. Some didn't go so well. Some went all right. That's for the past. But I'm very excited to bring in Evan to his show. So, welcome, Evan. How you doing, man?
Good, man. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Been following your show for a little bit. A lot of good Knicks takes, I've noticed.
Appreciate that. Appreciate you coming on as well. I mean, my co-host mentioned tournaments, so how'd that dynamic work as teammates? Was it like a LeBron Mario Chalmers situation? We know.
Hey.
I'm trying to think. We've definitely played in a handful.
I guess we.
I'm not sure if we won. We definitely got to a championship for sure a couple of times, maybe, but that was a while ago. But no, we were good. We had good chemistry.
I got you. It's more like Kobe and D-Fish in like the 08
Kobe,
finals.
D-Fish.
You know what I mean?
Right.
You know what? I'll take
Alden
that.
was the
I'll take that. I'll take the Kobe D-Fish comparison. Definitely wasn't Kobe Shaq, but
No.
it was more so like give Evan the ball and get the fuck out of the way. So
I don't know about that.
Out of point. So this is like 07 Kobe kind of thing.
Oh,
I got you.
No, Mo's
Pre-pal.
being modest. He could knock down an open shot if you couldn't leave him. Let's say that. You have to respect it.
It was good times. Definitely good times. I know you've been hooping a lot since. I see, you posting every day, or not every day, but a lot. You balling. So how's that going right now?
It's going good. So I tore my ACL in January doing some dumb stuff that I shouldn't have been. Yeah, so that sucked. But so I lost about 6 months there. But ever since that ended, and I started hooping again probably in August. And ever since then, probably like a couple of times a week, just pick up at the parks now since all the gyms are closed. But it's a good time. Still getting buckets.
Yeah, you live in Philly right now. So how long has that been?
That's been for 4 years. So I'm working on my PhD right now.
Nice.
But I'm finishing that up hopefully in the spring. But, knock on wood.
Hey, that's awesome, man.
So come back to New York, hopefully.
Nice.
Yeah, man. So,
Yeah.
What about you guys? Just chilling in New York?
You want to take that, Mo?
Yeah, I mean, I've been in the same place as before, but my partner here actually moved from New York to VA, so he's been there for a couple of years out. I don't. What's the dynamic like in VA right now?
I don't even know how to answer that. What dynamic were you talking about?
Ball wise, or just because Evan's always balling in Philly. You know how New York courts are. So where are courts in VA?
I probably haven't touched the court in over a year. You know what I mean? It's like that.
Yeah.
I feel like we're on the same boat. Just adulting gets in the way. Simplest way to put it. You know what I mean?
It's kind of sad, but yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Life gets in the way.
Really does.
So before you got on, Evan, I was telling Nafi here that you're probably the first Mavericks fan I've ever met in my life. You were a fan. You were a fan of them before they were. It was cool to be a fan of them. And there's one particular thing that I remember that just for some reason stuck to my memory. There was one time we were in the library, or I walked into the library. You were already there on the computer. And I was wondering what you were doing because you were copy pasting an article from ESPN about the Mavericks onto a Word doc. I'm like, yo, what are you doing? He's like, yo, if they catch you on ESPN, they kick you off. I'm trying to read this shit right now about Dirk.
Dedication. I dig it.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right.
I remember I was thinking about this earlier today too. So I picked the Mavs. Do you remember to beat the Heat in the 2011 finals? And I remember you were giving me mad props about for years I was rooting for the Mavs, and you were like, bro, they're never gonna win. And then finally they broke through. They had a great season. And people think I'm a LeBron James fan now. I actively rooted against him for many years until I think I just matured and started being more objective. But yeah,
I'm kind of similar. I mean, I'm not all the way a fan yet, but you can't argue with the legacy. You can't argue with the results. You know what I mean? As soon as he kind of, I always refer to it as when he turned into a cyborg in Miami. You know what I mean? He just became the totally flawless player, probably the most dominant player I've ever seen in my life.
I totally.
Ever since then, it's just objectively, you can't really throw dirt on his name. You know?
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I kind of hated him in Miami just because at the time it was still you're on this ridiculous team. But then I grew up and realized all right, he was never gonna get the help in Cleveland the first time. So I was like, all right, whatever. I guess it made sense. But yeah, in Miami, his game just got so ridiculous, just a machine, like you said. You know what I mean? Just so good, so athletic.
Crazy. Like, I remember what was all the talk? He didn't have a post game. He couldn't shoot. And then in Miami, I feel like in one offseason, he just showed up with it. I feel like all the JJ Barea jokes just got to him, and then boom, like evolved.
Just complete player. Yeah, he was like so good even before the Mavs series. And then after that, he just like, I don't even think he'd get that much better, but he did.
That's why he's one of the greats, you know?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You started
just accidentally pressed the button here. I agree totally for LeBron. I hated him because he spurned the Cavs. I thought he was gonna be a Knick fan when I was 15 years old. Didn't work out, and then I think it's when he joined the Cavs and took him to the NBA Finals, and he put up that performance that Jimmy Butler kind of resembled this past season.
That's the first one against Golden State, right?
That first one, yeah. And then in 2016, obviously, this dude is playing at historic levels, and I think that solidified him as a top 3. I think this past postseason definitely solidified him as top 2. And it's really that top 1 that, that's where
Who was the other third, out of curiosity?
So for me, it was Kareem.
Same here. I feel like he gets underrated or underlooked in kind of those conversations,
Those big men, they're hard to rate. But yeah, I totally agree. I have Kareem in the top 3 as well.
Yeah, if anything, you could probably break it down into just eras or generations. Like, I feel like clearly LeBron's the most dominant, just greatest player of this generation, probably since Jordan retired. And there's definitely a good case to say he's the best of all time, obviously. But I don't know if you want to get into that. I feel like you've got a strong takes about that.
I mean, I think it's very close. You know what I mean? Do you guys as well? I'm sure you think it's
we're not one of those people that are just like completely denigrating LeBron. Like he's definitely right there with them, And then I feel like it works the other way too. Like LeBron, they're like extremist LeBron fans that will just completely try to tear down Mike's legacy, and that's just what I don't really, not really fond of.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's more like I don't like the MJ supporters who just like mindlessly throw down like the 6 championships, this bag of rings and just like nothing else matters. Like, bro, there's so much more that goes into basketball than just winning championships, especially since it's a team sport. You could have a really good team and or play really like tough teams like the Warriors, for example.
I mean, you preaching to the choir. I mean, we still have fans that like remember the open 3 that Danny Green got. He missed. We still have fans that are like shitting on LeBron for making that decision. That was a great like move. Like, that's reading the floor, seeing your open teammate.
Is there ever like a time when a coach will tell you shoot through a triple team? You know what I mean? Like that.
Nope.
Like that. There's never a situation, unless maybe the shot clock is low or your teammates suck, that you would like ever do that.
Right. And in this case, it was Danny Green, who still, I believe, owns the record for the most threes in NBA Finals.
Yeah, bro. Remember that? Like, what was it? 2013 when he was like, just like swishing all those threes from. I mean, that dude's a good shooter. Like, he was getting death threats and stuff. I guess because he's a good shooter and he's not supposed to miss it, but it happens. They still won. I was definitely hating on him, I would say, after.
I mean, how can you not, right? I mean, you're a shooter, that's your job. Why not?
Right. You're open, make that.
You had one job, bro. Like, anybody has one job.
Like, literally.
But, I mean, obviously LeBron just won his 4th ring. So I guess, if we're already at the GOAT conversation, this pretty much solidifies that, like, at least top 2 ranking, right? I mean, there's no argument there, right?
I definitely think that. What's Kareem got, 5?
I think so.
Yeah. So I guess if you're just going by rings, Kareem is a little ahead. But, I mean, it's so tough with big men. I think it's just easier to compare, like, Jordan and LeBron versus, like, because then, like, where do you, like, why not pick Shaq? You know what I mean? Like, that dude was awesome. Like, you couldn't guard him,
Mm-hmm.
That's true. Mm-hmm. I feel like the thing with Shaq was, like, his peak was crazy, but, like, I feel like the longevity wasn't there,
I agree.
And that's what LeBron has.
He does have that over Jordan, for sure.
And so a lot of people want to make the argument who was their best at their peaks, but then there's also that argument who had a longer peak. And LeBron James, we're still seeing it could last for another year or 2, knock on wood, maybe longer. Who knows? This guy just isn't slowing down.
Yeah, you just like nailed it right there. You know what I mean? Like, who had the longer peak? It seems like LeBron's had like 3 like peaks. Yeah,
it's like all different flavors. I feel like the young Cavs LeBron, just the killer, the ruthless killer in Miami, and then what he's been since. I feel like he's like he just have so much wisdom now. Like, didn't he say recently that like if 35-year-old LeBron played 27-year-old LeBron, like he would kill him?
Yeah, I've heard that. It's interesting because I'm always like, you still look like athletic. I'm always a little surprised. It's like crazy how athletic he still is at that age too.
It's insane, bro.
I gotta start testing him. Just kidding.
I mean, so does this make you a Lakers fan now, or are you still not supporting a team? You're just trying to see LeBron win more titles.
So I think like as I've gotten older, I like more so just like root for like good basketball. Maybe it's because like the Knicks suck and like you know like if the Knicks were good, I would root for them, of course. And I still like watch them pretty frequently. I went to 2 Sixers games, both against the Knicks this year. But yeah, I guess I'll root for them. I like watching Boston play, which I know is like crazy in New York, but they're a good team. Boston, yeah. The Mavericks are good.
I was just gonna go right there. I mean, they're your old favorite team. What do you make of Luka? And just, I feel like folks are already throwing him in that LeBron conversation as far as like projecting his future. So like, what do you see in Luka now? And I guess what do you kind of think he'll become? You know?
Yeah, it's so hard. Like when he's so young, but I mean, he's so skilled. I remember like listening to these people talk so what is he, 20?
Yeah, probably not even old enough to drink.
At 20, yeah, right? Like at 20, he's probably better than like LeBron or Magic were at 20. So it's like, wow, that's like, you know what I mean? If he could keep getting better. I was surprised. Did you guys think like watching him like when he was young, I like watched him play and I was like, this dude is like way too slow, you know? But he seems to have that.
And there's an interesting article. I forgot who wrote it a couple of years back, but they really broke out that he has a super slow first step, but he makes it up because he has an excellent last step.
Interesting.
Okay. And he's able to maneuver his way, so it doesn't really matter how slow he is because he's so skilled that when it comes down to it, he'll maneuver his way around to get to the basket. Gotcha. He makes up for the lack of athleticism.
Yeah, that makes sense. Sort of like that Paul Pierce type, you know.
I was going exactly there. Just watching his young clips, just like you would see, like, because in international ball, there's like no hand checking rule or whatever, so they get right up on you, and he's just like defender, like cradled all over him. He'll stop on a dime and then open shot. Like as a young prodigy, I feel like he was destined for greatness, but it somehow fell to 3. So I don't know.
Yeah, they look good. I mean, it's still kind of crazy. What were your thoughts? So they have Kristaps now, which like I guess that still pains you guys, or do you guys care that much? Yeah, he's like
after seeing the news from a couple of days ago that he has no timetable for his return. Obviously, we hope for every player to have a long, sustaining, play style. I mean, a long career. Right. But when you see a player who just signed a max contract not have a timetable to come back, and we have a couple of picks that we got out of him, especially for 2021, that's unprotected. There's a chance that the Mavericks will be a lottery team.
2021 unprotected. Okay, yeah, I guess that's true.
Yeah, and then you gotta when you consider all together what the fact that they're able to create cap space, get Marcus Morris, trade him for another first round pick for the Clippers. That's also unprotected. We're gonna have to. We won't know for another 2 or 3 years who really won.
Was the Clippers? Is the Clippers one? It's not next year. It's what 2022 or 23.
I believe it's 21. Yeah,
21.
I think that's the 27th pick. That's.
Oh, okay. So this year. Okay. Gotcha.
And I don't know enough about the 2021 draft, but I think everyone agrees or everyone understands that it's going to be a very, very deep and good draft.
Is it? Okay.
That's going to work out for the Knicks.
Yeah, a lot of the so-called experts just referring to the 2021 draft as like one of the legendary ones. So, I mean, there's a kid by the name of Cade Cunningham. He's getting a lot of like, I want to say LeBron hype, but maybe like Zion level hype. So,
wow.
Yeah, he's supposedly like a 6'7" point guard that can do everything, like similar to LeBron. So,
LaMelo too. Is he in this draft or
he's in this draft?
But... Yeah, LaMelo's this year.
Okay,
yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah,
okay.
I mean,
the Knicks will find a way to pick the one.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to this year's draft, the Knicks have the 8th pick, so they're probably not going to get LaMelo unless there's some crazy move that Leon Rose does, but likely that's not going to happen. But
I mean, funny you mentioned that. There was a whole bunch of rumors today that we're eyeing like a trade up now, and then yesterday there's rumors that we're trading down. So I don't know what to believe.
Yeah, well, you have to imagine that the Warriors are probably going to trade that pick. I would think.
Yeah, I think that's a smart move. Yeah.
I think so too for them. I mean, their window's probably not closed, in my opinion.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think they have any much use for a 19-year-old traded like the way the Cavs did and where they traded Wiggins for Kevin Love. I think that's the kind of move that the Warriors should look into.
Yeah, I totally agree. I wonder who that like Kevin Love type player would be for them. I was hearing like they're obsessed with Giannis. I don't know if that would happen, but I hope that doesn't happen.
Giannis is being connected to the Mavericks as well, and the Warriors.
That would be scary, bro.
And the
Giannis
Heat.
and Luka, Jesus.
KP as a third banana? What? That's not fair.
Yeah,
that's not fair. That can't happen. Then again, it's not fair if he goes to Golden State either. So, I mean,
yeah, I know. Just giving him that much space would just be a cheat code for sure.
It really is. He'd basically be like a juiced up version of Draymond for them. You know what I mean? Like exactly what Draymond was. You know?
Yeah. So I don't know if you answer the question. So if do you really root for LeBron? Or are you going for any particular team apart from the Knicks? Or are the Knicks your team that you're rooting for day in, day out?
I guess, well, honestly, now that LeBron won, I thought he needed one more championship. Really, because I don't know. I felt like there was a big difference between 3 and 4, but maybe not quite. And you guys could disagree, but maybe not quite as big a difference between 4 and 5. Mm-hmm. So now that he's got his 4th chip, I actually want to see James Harden win it too.
Okay.
He's so good. He is so skilled. He's like, I don't know. He's got some flaws there. I feel like there's a little bit of quit in him, like not to sound like, cheesy, but but I think he's like so underrated. The best player to never win a chip, in my opinion. So I want to see him win it. That's like who I think I'll root for next year.
I'd agree. I mean, I loved Harden, especially like that MVP race where like Westbrook won it. I felt like Harden just had better numbers, and he did the same thing Westbrook did, just with less rebounds but better efficiency, and his team was better. He
definitely was robbed that year.
Yeah, he's I'd agree. He's probably the best player of this generation that doesn't have a ring.
I completely agree. So I kind of want to see him win one. I mean, it would just be such a waste for a guy that like good to, never win one. But
I mean, one could say it was self-inflicted, right? I mean, we hear all these things coming out. I mean, he wanted Dwight, then him and Dwight kind of break off. They don't really have a good relationship. Same thing with CP3. It was all like sold to us as like a great partnership, and then they both ended up hating each other, supposedly, So
yeah, that was weird. I thought to trade for Chris Paul for Westbrook was basically the deal.
Mm-hmm,
I mean, I guess it must have been really bad, like in the locker room or whatever, because it seems like
and it wasn't even Chris Paul for Westbrook. They got they did get a couple of picks out of it for Westbrook.
Out of the Thunder?
Did they? No.
I think it was
out of the Rockets.
Yeah.
I think the Rockets gave a couple of picks, at least one for Westbrook.
Wow, that must be because Chris Paul's contract is actually kind of crazy. It's like $50 million or $40 million or something, right?
$44 million. Yeah,
$44 million.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, I feel like
I heard he's like linked to the Knicks.
I'd want him.
You would want him.
Just because we're just sick of I'm sick of just losing, bro. And I especially when you heard how they kind of lowered the lottery odds, so it's a lot more volatile now to kind of tank. So it's why not just go for it? And by the end of the season, if we look like a bad team, then tank, But I don't want to go into the season with another mentality of, oh, this is a rebuild. Let's just play the young kids and suck again,
Yeah,
I think Chris Paul's a key. Yeah,
I agree, and hopefully they won't have to give up that much for him. But I mean, you have to make the money work, right, in the NBA to match.
Yeah, and our biggest contract right now is Julius Randle, which we're not too big fans of.
Right.
We're all right with getting rid of him.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I actually like that, actually, if they traded it for Chris Paul. I mean, you're not going to win a championship, but,
Yeah.
I would do it if you don't have to give up. I mean, I was reading that they would want Knox.
His name was connected,
Yeah. I mean, I feel like he has had a rough Knick career, but for some reason, I believe that if he's on a different team, he would actually be really good.
That's interesting.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, right? He has all the intangibles on paper. He just isn't that good with the Knicks, typical Knicks, not developing.
He just looked like the second coming of a bona fide scorer in Summer League, and I don't know what happened to that guy,
Yeah, I don't know.
But since you touched on Knox, I did want to ask, because me and Mo right here, we're just Knicks fans, so we're in the thick of it. We love our young players. We're kind of protective of them. But as an outsider, quote unquote, what's your kind of opinion on some of the young players we have? You mentioned Knox. What about RJ Barrett, Frank?
I love RJ Barrett. Okay. So I mean, RJ Barrett. Obviously, I mean, all right, no shade. Don't take offense. I would have rather they got why am I derping? The guy in Memphis.
John Morant.
John Morant.
He was second.
He was second. Yeah. So it's unfortunate because you guys had the third pick. But he's great. No, he didn't make all NBA first team or second team, right? But
no.
He balled out, his team wasn't any good. I mean, he had low efficiency numbers, but he had, he's going to get better, I think.
Yeah,
you know, a lot of James Harden in his game, I think, like that lefty thing. But
definitely, we just need to get him some shooters, I think, because there was like no spacing, and like we all play ball here. It's like you can't play with a bunch of guys that don't have jumpers, and it's just like the paint is just packed, you know.
Yeah,
like, nobody's jumper you respect out there. So how are you gonna go drive into 3 guys, you know? So
yeah, that's what's. I mean, you have Mitchell Robinson too, like clogging up the paint. I mean, he's a good player. I was reading your I was like one of your Instagram things. You guys are like high on him, right?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah.
I think it's pretty definitely he's the best player that the Knicks have right now, even including RJ Barrett.
I think I would agree. But his only problem is he doesn't space the court. Everything's a dunk or
well,
like a Tyson Chandler type
good
thing.
The good thing we're seeing right now when it comes to any Mitchell Robinson video now, it's him shooting 3-pointers. I don't know how likely he is going to do it on the court, but he's definitely showing a possibility of being a shooter.
Okay.
Or at least a corner 3 shooter. And Thibodeau definitely mentioned that he wants more corner 3s this season. So I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing him, popping some 3s. So what are your takes on Frank and Knox? Because those guys are more enigmas.
So Frank, I'm not as high on, I would say. Knox, Knox had a good rookie year, a solid rookie year in my opinion. He kind of fell off this past year, right? Mm-hmm. But I just like I could see him being a good player just on a different team. I don't know, like maybe this is just like seeing the Knicks every year. Like it seemed, we give away Tim Hardaway Jr., then he starts balling out for like the Mavs and stuff,
Yeah, fair.
So I don't know. He should be good, right? He's got like good intangibles, like kind of quick, long. You would think he'd be a good player, good defender.
He's from Kentucky, and like with the Kentucky prospects, we always see like they don't show a lot in college, but they get the coaching behind the scenes, and then they blow up in the NBA. Like Devin Booker, Tyler Hero, and you got Kevin Knox. So I mean, that's just the Knicks luck right there.
Seriously. But yeah, I like him. I'm not as high on Ntilikina though. What about you guys? You guys are fans?
I'll let
It's hard not to be a fan of Frank because if you're a Knicks fan, you kind of have the underdog mentality, and I think Frank. For a lot of fans sign him off. So a lot of those who love Frank see him kind of embody that underdog mentality. He is a lockdown defender at the end of the day. So between one or the other, he definitely has that. Lacks confidence, but we've seen when he does have confidence, he's a lot better. This season was a lot better for Frank. I think I would be surprised if they trade him away unless they get a good return.
Is it his 3rd year or
he's going to his 4th contract year?
Fourth year.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he's got to show out. But yeah, I mean, he's a top 10 pick, but I feel like 2 years into his tenure on the Knicks, we both kind of realized it's probably best if he turns into like a hyper role player, kind of like how Iggy was on Golden State, So if Frank could keep up that lockdown D and get like a respectable jumper, I'll take that, And I also feel like he hasn't really gotten a fair shake. We get a new coach every year, and they all end up like limiting his minutes, while we see other young players on other teams, get the chance to at least get a lot of minutes, get playing time. So
I totally agree. That's your point.
Yeah, switching it over just a little bit. What were your thoughts on Jimmy Butler's play this past?
That was
playoffs?
Crazy. I mean, I thought Jimmy Butler was a good player. You guys did too, probably. Like I don't know. Yeah,
love Jimmy.
30, like you know what I mean. I never like sat down and ranked him, but I mean, he was balling out. He looked like he was a top 5 player in the finals, right? Like, where did that come? And actually, so I live in Philly now, so I mean, I'm definitely not a Sixers fan, but I do follow the Sixers. And they were saying like, where did you know what I mean? Like, where the heck did this come from? Like, he didn't do this for us. But I guess like with all that spacing on the court.
Yeah.
Like you said earlier about the Knicks where they don't have any spacing, like with all that spacing, he can, he runs that pick and roll. He's basically unguardable.
Wait, was it Jimmy the closer in the playoff success that Philly did have?
Yeah, like he was the unofficial quote. I mean, we liked him, but he definitely wasn't this. This looked like he was like one of the best players. He outplayed Giannis too, right? Like
yep.
Giannis wouldn't even guard him,
Yeah, right. Giannis, I think, like, in my head, like, I used to think of him as, like, right there with, like, LeBron and Kawhi. He took, like, a few steps back, in this playoffs, I think.
Actually, sticking with the Six, I was about to say Phillies, with the Sixers for a sec, what are the fans like in Philadelphia? Because you grew up in New York, you've seen how Knicks fans, how crazy they can be despite all the losses, and Philadelphia has dealt with their fair share of losses. So, I mean, the last 4 years, you've probably seen the most success they've had in the better part of 2 decades. What are they like in comparison?
I think it's similar, except probably more like I don't know, how do you say? I feel like, and this, no disrespect, I feel like New Yorkers are a little bit more entitled.
Definitely.
They feel like they deserve the Knicks to be better. You know what I mean? It's like this bitterness that we deserve better and all that. You know what I mean? Whereas like the Sixers are just like, if we're not winning, like they're angry. You know what I mean? Like just perpetually angry. They're mad at the coach. They're mad at like, I think they really bought into the process. Actually, I think everyone got on board with that. But like, this past season they were like just killing the Sixers and the Phillies. Like they also like were underachieving. Like, you know what I mean? Just like all of them. The Eagles with Carson Wentz just like destroying him, and So I don't know. It's like similar, but like less entitlement, I would say.
It feels like the Sixers fans at Philly, they just idolize Embiid. So like, what's that dynamic? Like, do they like not fuck with Ben Simmons like that, or like are they willing to give up Simmons to keep Embiid and build around him? Or
I sort of disagree. I think there is bitterness towards Embiid because like there's always this narrative that he doesn't eat well. Have you guys heard this outside of Philly?
Yeah, he's like out of shape. Yeah,
he's a fat guy. He just eats all this shit, and that's why he can't play full 48 minutes, and that's why he's missing all these games. So I think there's bitterness towards it, and now I think there is like the legitimate discussion, like, all right, what do we do? Because like can we win with both of them, or do we have to trade one? And then like, all right, well, if we could trade one, who do we keep? And I think based on the way this past postseason went, where they really got destroyed by Boston, I think it's swaying towards they want to keep Ben and get rid of Embiid.
What would you do if you were in Philly's shoes? Like,
I think I agree. I think I would do Simmons. Not that I'm the biggest Simmons fan, but like obviously the parallel with like he should be like a Giannis, right? Except like if you put a shooter around him, you know what I mean? Like a bunch of shooters instead of Embiid, then that's basically Giannis right there. So he should, but like Embiid being there kind of clogs the paint and like
for sure,
spacing. And then also Embiid, you have to imagine he's going to get hurt. He probably has like a 3-year, you know what I mean? Like 3-4 years of like that level. And he's always like, every time he falls, you hold your breath and stuff. So.
Yeah. Well, you said they really bought into the process movement, and Brett Brown was a big part of that. So with his firing, what was the general feeling in Philly? And now that Doc Rivers was signed in just a couple of days later,
and Elton Brand, how do they feel about him?
Elton Brand still being there, what's the overall feeling over there?
So, what's their overall feeling or my feeling? Because I kind of disagree with them here. They thought that firing Brett Brown would solve all their problems. I think it's like a roster issue.
Same,
yeah, right. You
they fired the wrong guy. Yeah,
exactly. You have Horford. Like, why would you get Horford? You know what I mean? I know you want to take him away from Boston, but now you can't match up with Toronto. You know what I mean? Like the defending champions at the time. I still don't think you could beat Boston. Like, they just made a lot of questionable decisions. They got rid of Redick. All of their shooters. They had Bellinelli a few years ago. He was good. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And they're kind of trapped too because who wants Horford's contract? So.
Or Tobias Harris. Like, what's the feeling around him? Because he got such a huge contract. Like, I had to double check my phone when I saw that notification last summer. Like, the same Tobias Harris.
Did I add an extra one in there? Like,
yeah, it's crazy.
That's what, you get 180 million? Something like that?
Bleacher Report app is tripping, bro. Like,
there's definitely a lot of bitterness towards him as well. Especially like watching Jimmy, because it was effectively right. Like either we paid Tobias or we paid Jimmy Butler. And now watching Jimmy Butler ball out in Miami, it makes it that much worse. So yeah, I'm not sure what you do though. I do think Doc Rivers is gonna, like what can he do much, that's better. I don't imagine, maybe unless it's short of Greg Popovich coming, I don't see them like getting any better.
I guess silver lining is maybe Tobias Harris had his best season under Doc, but I'm skeptical. I feel like the same as you. It's like, what are you gonna do with Tobias? You can't trade him because who would want him? Like
I don't know. Yeah, that's a ridiculous contract. Same with Al Horford. And now you're still stuck. Exactly. And now, like, also, like, the other thing I brought up, like, so now the process, right? So how do you justify to your fans blowing it up immediately, right? And trading one of those two players? Like, you made them wait all this time, trust the process, and now you're going to blow it up? Like, what were we trusting, So that's like the counter every time I say you have to trade one of them that they bring up. Like, you can't trade them. You're stuck.
Exactly. But I would have just kept Brown, get a new GM, because I really think Elton Brand is in over his head. Like, was he like a first-time GM? He's never even worked in a front office before he got the job. That's crazy.
Yeah, I have no idea. It's kind of funny that they had that philosophy, like, always draft the best player.
Yeah.
And now, like, look what's happened. Your players aren't compatible at all, you know, and like, you know, obviously it'd be better off if you had Tatum than.
Yeah,
that's a fact. Yeah.
So. And
we probably lost track of the number of lottery picks that they have, and they've given away. Nerlens Noel was a pick.
Nerlens Noel.
Was a pick. Is Zaire Smith still on the team, or is he just riding the bench?
He's there.
Yeah, he's just on the bench. He could be a good player.
Okafor, like, just so many of them that they just gave away.
Okafor,
Jeremy Grant. Didn't we just see him in the Western Conference Finals? He would have been a perfect fit, I feel like, at the 4.
Actually, for sure, right?
Right, he could hit a knockdown, like a spot up 3, play defense.
He's gonna get the bag. Yeah, he's gonna get the bag this offseason.
Is he up this year? Yeah, he is, right?
Yeah.
Interesting. Hopefully, Denver can retain him. He's a good player.
For sure, yeah. I mean, I feel like he'd be a nice fit on the Knicks, but you know, that's neither here nor there. You know.
Oh, I think. Well, okay, yeah. I just want to see. I want to see Denver take that next leap too. They're a good team.
For sure. What do you think of Jokic? Like, he's basically like, we talk about all the like LeBron doing stuff we've never seen before. I feel like Jokic, I've never seen a point center like that before. You know, like who's the best big man passer before he came on the scene? Like,
oh my God,
Marc Gasol, right?
Probably Noah.
I guess.
Yeah, Noah too. Yeah.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, man, that was crazy. Did you guys watch? Did you guys like follow that series, the Clippers against?
Yeah, that was insane.
That was insane. I mean, they looked like. I mean, that 1-5 screen and roll. It was unguardable,
untouchable. Yeah, exactly. And Clippers supposedly had like the lockdown perimeter, and then Denver couldn't stop scoring. So I mean, something's wrong there.
Did you guys buy into that team? Did you guys like really think they were as good as everyone was saying they were? Or
this is the Nuggets still?
No, Clippers.
I definitely thought so.
I thought so.
But I personally have always been kind of not as high on Doc as like I guess the general consensus is. I feel like, to be honest with you, I feel like he owes his like reputation to KG and Tom Thibodeau, because Tom Thibodeau orchestrated that defense and KG was the anchor, and that defense was one of the best of all time. They wrecked the league, won a ring, and then Doc's just been sitting cushy ever since. Because
no, I agree with you. But I didn't buy into Paul George as like the second best player on a legitimate team. Not to be a hater, but
no, I mean that's facts. I mean, even Kawhi didn't buy into him because supposedly he had a wish list. It was like KD, nope, he's going to Brooklyn. I want Jimmy. Wait, no, Jimmy's going to Miami. He even wanted Bradley Beal apparently over Paul George, and they just settled on Paul George. So
wow, so there you go.
How that works out.
But they might have even been better if they had kept like Shea Gilgeous-Alexander and like you know, like in my opinion. But you know, I don't know. I thought, but it was a good series regardless. You know, I thought by the end of it, the Nuggets really kind of like proved that they were better, though, in my opinion. But
that future is bright. But the thing about what Kawhi did with the Clippers, I feel like what Kawhi did last summer, I feel like it only adds to LeBron's legacy, because LeBron kicked off all that player empowerment. Like, I get to pick my teammate, I get to dictate how a franchise builds around me, and Kawhi took that playbook and ran with it last summer with the Clippers. So I feel like that's a major part of LeBron's legacy that I feel like is underrated in certain like places. You know what I mean? Like, not even just on the court, he just affected the entire player culture. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess he was the first to do it.
Yeah, and he took all that heat too. Like, literally, I mean, wordplay. He went to the
Yeah, I think it was like even more so because he was like the best, right, at that time. So it's like, you know, and we all kind of like thought he would do that MJ thing where he just stays with the same team and just wins and wins and wins. But like, you know, then he teamed up with Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh, and I was like, all right, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, because we've never seen anything like that before. Like, I know back then I was kind of just mad because like I love the D Wade versus LeBron matchups. You know what I mean? Like, selfishly as a fan, those games was crazy. You know, like turned into 1-on-1 basically. But
basically, I thought what KD did like was even worse. Like whatever that was.
Oh yeah.
Joining the 73 win team and then winning 2 titles after that. I was actually just about to bring up KD because I think you've mentioned in the past that you're not too high on KD.
Well, I mean,
this is interesting.
I mean, he's like I mean, he's a great player, right? Like we all acknowledge that. But do you remember like after he won the first time and even the second time, there was that whole narrative like, oh, is he better than LeBron? Like, bruh, you have all these players around you know what I mean? Like, obviously it helps, you know what I mean? Like, it was just so ridiculous to me. And then what really was interesting, like, so he got hurt last year. And then I remember everyone was just talking, like, wouldn't it be interesting if the Warriors just won without him? And then, you know what I mean? Like, prove that he's not really that valuable.
Yeah.
But then, like, Klay Thompson got hurt and we never got to find out, which is probably, like, the real tragedy. And he tore his Achilles, which, like, you know, that obviously sucks for everyone. You know?
I feel like as Knicks fans, like I feel like once he tore that Achilles, that like all the KD to Knicks stuff just went out the window. He had no pull. Who's gonna want to be recruited by a guy on a bum leg, you know? So he kind of rode Kyrie's coattails, you know?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I wonder if they're you know, do you think they're gonna be any good, Brooklyn?
Yeah,
definitely. That's just too much talent. You know, as much as I don't fuck with Brooklyn, you know, like you got to just objectively say like those are two dangerous scorers, and if they get on the same page, because I'm still skeptical that locker room like sticks together. You know, just the kind of dudes that are like leading the locker room. I wouldn't even call Kyrie a locker room leader, like in 2K either. Like,
yeah. I was actually reading that they were planning on trading their like young players for Paul George too. Which I don't know. I was like, all right, I don't know if that's a good idea. I would probably keep like Karis LeVert and those guys.
I like Jared Allen a lot, and then they benched him for DeAndre Jordan just because he's cool with KD and Kyrie. That's kind of a bad culture to me.
For sure. I wonder if Nash will come in and just take care of that right away.
I bet you KD and Kyrie just ship like exactly what you said. Jared Allen, throw him in a pile with the young players. Go get Bradley Beal or Paul George or something. You know.
Yeah. We'll see. I don't know. I'm looking forward to see. I mean, this will be like the first. When I say I don't like KD, I just mean like I don't really value his championships like very highly. I don't.
Fair.
You know. Do you guys agree? I mean, like, yeah. I mean, they seemed unearned. You know, like that was even worse than LeBron, right? Going to Miami, in my opinion.
Exactly. I feel like the very fact that there's even a debate about it just proves the point that, like, you know, that those rings are kind of held in a lesser regard. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
And I feel like KD himself bought into that hype. Like, he thought if he beat LeBron, he was better. That's not how it works. Like, it's not like king of the court or like the park. Like,
the top 2 point guard of all time.
Right, exactly.
That just won the title himself.
And one of the best 3-point shooters of all time, and like a stretch big that's like passes like a point guard and Draymond. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Andre Iguodala. Like that team was so deep. They were just so good. Yeah.
Best team of all time. Like,
not to mention they just beat you. You know, like, so on top of all of that. So, yeah, I just don't like view him as, but we'll see. Like, you know, so now he's got his own team. I guess he's the best player, maybe the leader. You know, we'll see. I mean, I think the East has gotten a lot better too. Like, you know, like Miami, I was legitimately nervous. I thought that they could beat the Lakers. They're so good. You know, so many options offensively, so good defensively too. Well coached. So. Yeah, I think the East has gotten a lot better, so we'll see what happens. I don't think it's like a guarantee though that they'll just march through the East and get to the finals. Yep. Do you guys think it's a lock? The Brooklyn after going to the finals next year?
I feel like it depends what Milwaukee does, because I feel like they're kind of on the clock. They got literally 1 year before Giannis can leave, so they might just make a desperation play for some form of an all-star or something like that, you know?
Yeah.
So it's to be seen, I feel like. But I feel like Brooklyn's the favorites.
I think it's Eastern Conference Finals or bust at this point.
So like get past the Eastern Conference or just get there?
They have to at least make it to the Eastern Conference Finals to be somewhat respectable. Assuming they're all healthy throughout the season.
Exactly. That's got to be the expectation, like baseline, you know?
Yeah.
And if it's
otherwise,
assuming it's the current Bucks team that they play against, and they still lose, I think that'll still be a bust because they got both KD, Kyrie, Giannis is by himself.
Yeah, you're right for sure. Giannis is by himself. Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah. So,
since we're on that like topic of Giannis, or we just mentioned Giannis, like to kind of close this out, I know we're like getting to that time. Sure. I did have a question. You know, since this is kind of a LeBron themed episode, is there anybody in the league right now that you kind of see as that next LeBron, like that next face of the league, or is it still to be determined? Like a young player, you know, like a guy that could kind of take off and be a GOAT level guy.
I don't know. I mean, I think the player that I would have said like a year ago would have been Giannis, but now I think more Luka.
And just to add on, not just best player, but I think just NBA impact, because Jordan had that impact, you know? LeBron had that impact,
right? So not
globally.
Just best player.
So all encompassing.
So just like
an icon, like LeBron, Jordan were.
Right.
Luka?
I think I might go Luka. I mean, you might think Zion's a possibility, but that's still like kind of skeptical. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not a prophet.
He's got to stay healthy.
Yeah, exactly. So, I would have said Giannis, but I mean, he really got exposed pretty bad in both of the last postseasons, and I don't know how he can fix that. Right? He doesn't have a mid-range jumper. There's a guy, all this like 3 and layups stuff in today's NBA. There's a guy who I think would really benefit from like a mid-range jump shot of some kind, Giannis. But yeah, I think I would go Luka. What about you guys?
Okay. I think Luka's a safe bet at this point. He's a prodigy that like I feel like we've never seen or haven't seen since LeBron, honestly.
Yeah.
His numbers are MVP caliber this season.
Yeah,
honestly.
right. He could have won. Well, yeah.
I think Luka's a safe bet. I think Zion might have a little bit of an edge just because I think he has that personality or that ability to. And not that Luka hasn't done it since he was 16 years old, but at the end of the day, it might be an. I don't know if it's an American effect. I don't know if that's the right word I'm really trying to say, but I think Zion has had that impact, at least locally or at least domestically, longer than Luka has, and it might translate or connect. He might be able to connect better than Luka can. But I think on the court standpoint, I think Luka is easily going to be the best player on the court.
Yeah, I think I would agree. I can't even think of other options other than perhaps Giannis maybe, but him and Zion, maybe John Morant, right?
Possibly.
That would be a stretch, I think, but yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it's hard for a point guard to be that guy, like that in that conversation. Yeah. And we've seen a lot of great point guards, obviously. So.
Yeah, maybe I take that one back. Actually, that would be really surprising if he did.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
So.
Think about Zion though; he kind of has that same box office like athleticism that LeBron did. Like it's freaky what he can do at his size, So I think that's what kind of maybe puts him in that conversation. Like maybe if he hones his game, actually becomes like a point forward. That'd be crazy with his athleticism,
So I mostly just watched highlights. I didn't actually watch his games too much. It looked like it was a lot of dunks primarily, right? Like everything 2 feet from the basket, like stuff like that.
Yeah, extremely efficient.
Okay,
extremely efficient. Like,
ooh, you just disconnected.
Looks like we just lost Nafi,
which
is weird.
Maybe back in.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. I'm gonna add him.
All right, cool.
Guys, I think we just had a technical difficulty.
We are good. You're back in.
Cool. All right, glad you're back.
Yeah, Nafi, let's get any other final points. We're just actually about to wrap this up.
Nah, feel free. I feel like whatever just happened with the sign, we got to close out.
All right, Evan, man, I really appreciate you coming on to the show and just having a talk with us. Yeah,
I love talking basketball. Anytime, man. Really appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
We appreciate it. We hope everything goes well. Congrats on your future PhD. Really, really happy for you. Really excited for you, and hope that ACL heals up real soon.
Thank you, man.
Completely.
Appreciate it. All right, we'll keep in touch.
Yep. Thank you, man.
All
Take care.
Good stuff, man.
Have a good night.
Safe, man.
You too. How do I? Let's see. All right. Is it this?